All right, we're almost 10 minutes past the hour. I guess, yeah, we can get started here. I think we've got everyone's updates in progress. So, sweet. I'll share my screen, see what I'm looking at. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, can you guys see this all right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Cool. So yeah, this is a proposal basically to figure out what we're going to do with the Mooney that's sitting in the treasury right now. Yeah, it's not only like a future-facing document, but it also does an analysis of what we've allocated Mooney towards in the past to kind of inform what we might want to spend it on in the future. Yeah, and yeah, basically, there's four main new allocations. So one for burning on a consistent schedule. So this would be 3 million Mooney that's burned every month for a whole year, and then 14 million that's burned when our second astronaut is launched, kind of as a celebration. The second big bucket is financing. So this is basically taking a big chunk of the Mooney that's in the treasury and then reaching out to reputable institutions that might want to, work with MoonDAO or support our mission. So yeah, it's a pretty big chunk of the treasury, but it's not guaranteed that we'd use all of that. It just kind of earmarks it towards financing. And then another big bucket is locking. So this is basically saying we don't know what we want to use this Mooney for yet, but we'll make the commitment to the broader DAO that this won't go into circulation at least for 1 year. And then when that year is up, we can reevaluate and see if we've got better uses for it. And then the last bucket is voting rewards. So this is something that we've been talking about for a while, which is basically rewarding people that are reviewing proposals, voting on proposals, and giving them more voting power. Yeah. Coffee Crusher says like a saving account. Yep. Yeah. So this third bucket would be like a little savings account for MoonDAO. So yeah, I guess kind of went through a lot of this here, but I'll skip forward to this table. So highlighted in green is basically new allocations. So what I just talked about. There's actually, I should put this at the top. There's an unallocated amount. So this is rather than locking it, this is just some amount that we can use. We've kind of had a good amount of Mooney that's been used kind of ad hoc. So the idea is another 50 million Mooney that would go unallocated. Just gonna include this here at the top. Cool. Mitch, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Do you have a question?
No, I'll mute.
Okay. So yeah, here's the same buckets of new allocations. And yeah, you can also see the percent of the total supply that it equates to. So yeah, for financing, that 300 million is about 11% of the total supply of the token. And yeah, included here in yellow is project rewards. So this is what we do every quarter, where we allocate some amount to the contributors based off of the outcomes of their projects. And so this is unchanged. This is still the same. There's still a geometric series that's being released every quarter. And then lastly, here in orange, this is what we've already allocated. So this is stuff that we've already spent Mooney on in the past. And this took me quite a while to compile, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with just, I feel like this is just useful knowledge. Like this is what we've used Mooney on in the past. But yeah, you can kind of separate it out into 3 different buckets. So one is just liquidity. So yeah, we recently passed that $186 million ETH liquidity proposal. We've already listed on a couple of centralized exchanges and used some amount to add liquidity there. And then when we expanded to Polygon, we added a tiny bit of liquidity there as well. This is the amount that have, or the second bucket here is amounts that have gone to contributors, which, yeah, if you add these two numbers, it's exactly 7%. And I've also done a little breakdown so you can see it. In phase one, this is the amount of Mooney that went out to contributors, and this is actually the exact amount of Mooney. So in some of these phases, we actually allocated more, but it was contingent on certain criteria, like people remaining on a project. So this is the actual amount that has gone out to each contributor. And then, yeah, I went through the entire treasury and looked at each proposal that was passed, and some of them included Mooney payments. So that's it's a small amount, but still somewhat significant. And then I've separated these two out. So we've used another very small amount towards just marketing. And then another very, very small amount that we had burned previously as well. Yeah. And then the last bucket here is the amount that we've done for Juicebox raising. The total, so you'd expect that this total would sum up to the total amount of circulating of supply of the token, but it's actually a little bit more. And the reason is because there's also been inflows of Mooney into the treasury over time. And so, yeah, there's kind of been a little bit of circulation into the treasury as well. And then that, it's been recirculated. So there's just a tiny bit of discrepancy here. Yeah. And then here's the same information in a pie chart. So you can see, the Juicebox raise was almost exactly 50% of the token supply. Yeah. And then here are all the other buckets that I just mentioned. Yeah, objectives and key results. So these are kind of the actionable items. So some of this is just we're earmarking it for the future. But some of the actions are more concrete and will actually, execute on them after this proposal passes. So, for example, the schedule of burning Mooney over time, and locking some amount of Mooney, and then this one's a bit more open-ended, which is basically doing an accounting of all the addresses that have voted in the past. Yeah, and basically putting together a plan for how that might happen. Yeah, and then lastly, this one's probably going to be the most time intensive, but approaching. I feel like we're kind of at a level of maturity now where we can present a lot of the work that we've done here at MoonDAO. We haven't taken on any sort of institutional money. It's all been crowd raised just from the community. But yeah, this could supercharge our treasury and also help build some big connections in both the kind of crypto industry, but also more broadly in the space industry. So
I have a couple questions on Metric.
Yeah, I'm almost done, so I'll open it up in a second here. So yeah, team table is pretty simple. Yeah, I'll be the Rocketeer for this. And yep, maybe I'll add or pull a couple other people in if they want to support in objective number 4. But yeah, it's no upfront payments to anyone on the team. Yeah, here's a project timeline. Basically, yeah, executing on some of the transactions like locking the Mooney, burning the Mooney when the second astronaut launches, and then a monthly burn, and then I estimated about over the next 3 months, kind of reaching out to each of these partners. here's the same information, just budget. Something here to note is that, this is a lot of Mooney here, but not all of that will be leaving our treasury. It's just like, for example, up to 300 million for financing, up to 50 million for voting rewards, and so on. And then locking, obviously, that will, once it's unlocked, it'll go back to the treasury. Here's the transactions that will be executed once it passes. Some amount that will be sent over to the dead address. This is kind of all in one go, but it'll be broken up over time. And then locking. That is pretty much it. Thanks for the signatures, guys. Open to take any questions. Phil, I think you've got first dibs.
I had some questions related to key results. I don't have any objections to the ones that you have, but I have some questions +1 to having a conversion metric related to approaching partners, that like a target to strive for, and then use that to judge the success. And objective number 1, burning Mooney. I was wondering, I'm not familiar with how tokenomics and stuff works very well. But is there a way to track and see if burning it is actually helping the token, and where we can evaluate whether or not it's worth it to continue that as we reconsider on a periodic basis? What should we watch to see if objective number 1 is helping?
Yeah, I'd be very, very hesitant to track any metrics around the price of the token for any of these. So
I don't know any other metrics though, so that's why I threw out the price. But I guess stepping back, forget anything about the price if that matters. But how do we track whether burning Mooney on a consistent schedule or the amount that we're burning is beneficial? What can we track to determine that? Answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that first line item, objective number 1, is mostly there's a large group within the community that's been kind of saying that for a long time, that they'd like to burn some amount of Mooney. So I think even regardless of the outcomes, this is just listening to the feedback of the that group of the community, and then trying to balance what they want with a lot of other parts of the community too. So
right.
I'd say it's not the objective isn't to raise the price of the token.
Understood, but you chose specific values here for how much per month and when, and I just want it would be nice to at the end of this project, when you're writing the report, say how effective it was, or whether it made a difference, what impact it had, if there was no impact, if it was a significant impact to the way it changed things, in an objective way. Sure, we can do whatever we want. We can burn a gajillion Mooney, but you pick those numbers and let's see how good that decision was. You know what I mean? Just kind of measuring the impact is what I'm looking for. I don't know what to measure.
I think the impact would just be on overall sentiment, especially within the CN channel.
Right, but what's the difference between 3 Mooney per month and 3 million Mooney per month and 5 million Mooney per month? That's the kind of question that I'm interested in. Is the numbers are arbitrary here, and I'm wondering if we can tie that to something to tune it over time. If we need to continue burning Mooney per month, maybe we can dial it back so it's not as much, or maybe we need to burn more or burn faster, right? And not just have an arbitrary number because it's what people like. I haven't seen any evidence supporting these numbers, and that's my ignorance. But also, if there is a reason why these numbers were picked, that seems like those reasons are good things to track compare to.
Yeah, I mean the reason around this number is basically so there's 50 burned, 50 for voting rewards, 50 unallocated. So it's just trying to come to some sort of equal allocation between different, ideas within the community. But yeah, I mean, all of these objectives will have learnings associated with them, and we'll keep track of the learnings and see how things how this played out. And yeah, pretty much all of them are relatively reversible decisions. So for example, like locking or unallocated amount. Burning is the only one that's like kind of like a one-way function. So definitely wanted to just dip our feet into that with like a relatively small amount. So that's less than 2% of the total amount. And then I guess we'll see based off of how that goes, whether or not we want to burn more or not burn any at all. So yeah.
I had one last question while I kind of have the floor here, and it's you are the responsible person for all of these. Just like reality check, is that doable for you, or like are you planning to delegate any of these actions to people?
Yeah, I mean these top three, at least I mean these two are just transactions within the multi-sig.
Okay.
Pretty simple to put together. This one, I might like I said, I might pull in someone to support here. But yeah,
I'm not asking for answers right now. I just kind of wanted to reality check you and see if like poke that and see if it had gone through your head. And it sounds like you're aware.
Yeah. And I think I'll be taking the lead on both of these objectives. But yeah, I might pull in someone else. But yeah, I'm not taking a payment for doing this, and whoever I pull in, I would also be paid in retroactive rewards. But yeah, that is basically it. So yeah, these are basically just equal amounts. A lot of it is just kind of like testing to see what works, what doesn't work. Voting rewards, I mean, this is like a maximum amount, so I could see proposal going in later that like specifies the actual details of how it'll be rolled out and it being less than this amount. But this at least adds a cap to it. Locked, I mean, same. It's just kind of like this is some amount that is basically the amount that was left over after like looking at the rest of these boxes. Financing 300, again, I think it's kind of similar logic to voting rewards. Like there'll probably be more specific ideas as we like reach out to individuals and then get an idea of what the demand looks like, and then it might be less than 300, but at the very least it just sets a cap. So that's pretty much the logic around these. It's I wouldn't say that it there's like some very intense computational model where I've run some crazy analysis and found that these are the perfect numbers. It's more like just like setting some boundaries, some maximum boundaries on what I think each of these buckets should look like. But yeah, also really love feedback too if people think that these numbers aren't what they expected them to be, or if they have some argument for why something should be changed. Totally all ears. This I feel like I mean, if you have an idea for how we could kind of break these up into different proposals, and you think that's a better way to do it, we can explore that route. I just thought it'd be easier to kind of like look at it holistically and look at the big picture of okay, here are the 5 buckets, because it's kind of all kind of interconnected a bit. I guess my intuition here says that there's impossible to make everyone happy all the time with any distribution, right? So we're all going to have to accept some level of like balance.
That's what weighted voting is for. Yeah.
So I think that the community can if there's gridlock between different ends of the community, and then we can put this proposal up. If it doesn't pass, and we can reevaluate, look at the feedback from different voting members, and see see if there's like a balance. But yeah, I think that it's like even I'm not entirely happy with the whole distribution here, even as the author. But I do think that someone wrote it in the chat, and it did resonate that the leadership isn't valued in like, oh, someone's technical ability or their ability to analyze something very deeply. It's more in like being able to balance different interests within different groups within the larger group, right? So I think this is a relatively, and that was kind of my objective from the beginning, is just to try to be balanced between each of the different interests within the community. So I'd say, if this allocation as is presented here doesn't match your expectations and you want to vote no, that's totally valid, and that's why we have governance. So I'd say like, let's see how this performs. Let's see what people think about the proposal, and if it gets rejected, then we can reevaluate and break it up into different buckets. How would you imagine that happening? Well, I guess, like, taking a step back, are there any particular recommendations that you have on this proposal? Because this has been open up for feedback for a few days, and I've been wanting to hear a lot of people's reasoning around it, because I think that's probably the biggest lever of influence that you, Ryan, as a person could have on this. So if there's any, you mentioned flipping locked in financing. I'd be interested to hear, do you mean like financing should be at 179 and locked should be at 300? Yeah, but well, one second. I guess like this is kind of like a learning from doing these sort of things on Snapshot versus just having a conversation that's a lot higher information bandwidth. We tried to do basically what you're saying with phase 1 and phase 2 payments, where we had the entire community decide what was the allocation that would go to contributors. And I felt like that was the most fair way to do it. But in retrospect, it ended up being just a absolute chaos, because you have to, like, you're going to get people voting 100% for burning, right? You're going to get other people voting 100% for voting rewards or something like that. You're going to get a bunch of kind of like very out of distribution like signals where people are just trying to manipulate something one way or another, and it becomes not it doesn't become a forum for consensus and a forum for understanding and reasoning. It becomes basically just a forum for how can I twist this into my own personal incentive as much as possible, even if it's something that is patently absurd.
I have an idea for how to kind of bridge the gap, and it's basically how the end of quarter rewards are distributed, right? You have a set of distributions that are determined to be reasonable. And in your case, to make it simpler, you could do like, one is aggressive burn, one is prioritize option 2, and the other one is prioritize this other thing. And it's like you vote on which option is agreed with the most. Kind of like how in the community rewards, people vote on which of the senators' distributions they vibe with the most. That's the only way to bridge the gap. But I think I don't know. I don't know whether or not my opinion is to like push it through and vote it and see if people vote no, or if this vote, since it's deciding on how the distributions will be taking place, whether or not it should make it past this stage.
Yeah, I mean,
and Coffee Cruncher says weighted voting, just to give a voice to the chat in case you guys didn't see. Voting holistically with a weighted vote.
Yeah, which is what we do right now with Snapshot. It's quadratically weighted, so people with a lot of tokens get square rooted.
No, weighted voting as in weighting. I don't. Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's what Coffee Cruncher meant by voting, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Coffee Crusher means weighted voting on the like. Oh, I see. So like people could allocate. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid way to do it. But yeah, I mean,
It requires
I've
everybody to
got
have doing
some.
their homework and be
Well,
altruistic.
I've
I
got
guess.
some scar tissue from basically doing it that way, and a lot of, I mean, a lot of you guys weren't here for phase 1 voting where we did basically exactly that to figure out what was going to be the amount that went to contributors. Even in phase 2, I mean, some of you guys were there for phase 2 at least and saw, some of the chaos that unfolded there too. I'd rather have, a civilized discussion here, in this forum or on the comments in the proposal. I did hope to get more feedback on this before we jumped up here on Senate. But yeah, we only got the signatures on this like right before, and this is kind of like on all the senators really. Like we need to review proposals earlier and get people's feedback async before we jump into a call here. So I guess it sounds like Ryan, you're like, so I think it would be good to get maybe a differently like your distribution for what you think should be the amounts that go in, and then we can have a conversation about the differences in distribution. And I'd recommend everyone here on this call, if they feel like they've can speak to the reasoning behind the distributions, I think that would make this proposal, it would sharpen it and make it better. But it is a bit difficult to just through here on this voice call, not knowing what I guess alternative plans are to decide between which one is better, which one's worse. So yeah, I mean, I was also hoping to get more feedback in the threads, both in ideation and review. And actually we did get well wait, Ryan, we did get a lot of feedback actually from a lot of the community, not even just here, but for months, that they're and it's not just a vocal minority that isn't voting. They're also voting, and they are a part of the community, and they feel very, very, very strongly that they would like to burn some amount of and that's the only reason this conversation is even happening right now, is because they are very persistent and consistent. So I would personally, yes, a lot of them are also stakers. And I would personally vote against a proposal that just didn't listen to any of their feedback, that didn't, that just kind of shoved them aside. So I think that, we all have to some degree, decide to, find a balance between each of these groups.
I would say also, like, I just want to remind that, yeah, the 7-day review period has already elapsed. So if we need to move on, do a Senate vote now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, should we put this up for a Senate vote? Mitch, you want to put it up? All right, just
It was tough.
one more.
I think we're just waiting on Ben.
Yeah.
I voted. This is Ben.
Sweet. Thanks.
Had to find out where.
Looks like we missed one, but I guess it still hits quorum. Did someone's vote not get counted?
Mine definitely did.
I got a DM from Easy Poll. Let's see. My vote was counted.
Yeah, same. So I guess either Ryan, Colin, or Ben.
Mine was counted as well.
Yeah, Ben, you'll get a DM from Easy Poll Bot if your vote was counted, and if you didn't get that DM, you might need to click again and react to the post in the vote channel.
Yeah. Well, the vote is closed now.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. Well, looks like it passed. So yeah, should we keep moving forward?
Yeah. let's move on.
I think so.
All right. Okay. So I guess projects v5 next. So I've got two versions here. One that's got the comments written up, and then one that's just the actual final document that's a little bit easier to read. So yeah, this one's kind of been a long time coming. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Mostly things that we've kind of like picked up and learned throughout the process of projects v4. I think I have a summary in the review thread that actually says what the major changes are. So I'll go through each of those, I guess, one by one. So first, the crowd raising rules. So this was kind of like what we expected to be a decent chunk of like what people might want to do with MoonDAO projects, is like kick something off and then raise money for an idea, startup or something that they're doing. But I guess to my own surprise, it ended up not being used at all. So it was just snipped out of this project system, basically this part of the governance, which is like creating a juice box so you can crowd raise and how that works. And then any other references to like crowd raising was also removed. So that's a relatively minor change. Decently, or I guess this one's big for Rocketeers, but we got rid of the signing requirement. So the documents don't need to be signed. The problem we were trying to solve with projects before was basically that here's a signing, I think. Is that we wanted to ensure that people are actually reading the proposals, but I think there's got to be a different method that we use, because even with the signing requirement, it's still kind of like herding cats, and we end up just basically like rubber stamping a signature right before the meeting, which isn't good. But yeah, the in practice, the signing thing just didn't really end up working as intended. So we can keep trying to think of other ideas of how to get people to review proposals and be incentivized to do so. But yeah, for simplicity's sake, it was just removed, just because it just isn't doing what we intended it to do. Another big change is in the delegate. So now you actually, if you yourself have the threshold of vMooney, you can be the delegate on your proposal. So it doesn't require someone else in the Senate like blessing your thing. If you have the right amount of Mooney, you can serve as a delegate. And then a lot of the delegates' responsibilities, which used to include, setting up, we even had references to like D-work and a coordinate and a project channel and managing permissions and roles, all this stuff. That's now just handled by the operations lead, which is currently Mitchie. And I think it's just a more parsimonious way of doing things. One person that knows exactly where to set up your Google Drive and your channel, etc., is much easier than a new person having to relearn it and usually just not doing it because they don't know how to do it well. So yeah, and then the delegate. So if someone is supporting someone that is new to the community or has a very low stake, they'll receive 10% of that project's rewards. So the idea is, that if you're a MoonDAO veteran and you're championing an idea, usually that person who's serving as a Rocketeer will need a good amount of hand-holding. So this is, trying to incentivize people to support those like projects that are coming from outside of kind of the core group of the Senate. Yeah. So those are the changes around the delegate. Okay, now we can go to reward calculations. So actually, probably easiest to just read it here because I did some revamping and just kind of like the equations to hopefully simplify them a little bit more. Yeah, this now references vMooney rewards, which is something that we passed a proposal to do vMooney rewards a few months back, but it wasn't reflected in this document. So now everything is vMooney. We also passed a proposal to do a community circle, and so that's also been introduced here. Just saying that 10% of the rewards go to this contributor circle. And then that is reflected in this equation here. So now that's why we've introduced this 0.9 term, because it carves out 10% for the community circle. Yeah, we've also included the script that Michi and myself put together, which is basically calculates the project rewards. So like many of you guys probably know, a project leader can't vote on their own project. They learned that just sets up bad incentives, because the project leader is obviously going to want to maximize the amount that goes to their own project. So we actually have to run a script to figure out what each senator's distribution is, where we plug in the average from all of the other senators' distribution for their own project, and then include that in the final distribution that goes up on Snapshot. And there's a system there of basically doing that until the averages match what's missing for that one particular contributor. But yeah, you can read more details in the actual script. So here, let's see if I can pull this up. This is just a Colab script, and I believe this is also in our GitHub. And if not, we should add it. But yeah, it's about 50 lines. Yep. So yeah. And then another big change, and this has also been something we've been talking about for a while, which is that currently, say you're on one project and you're getting an upfront payment from that one project. What we had in projects before was that upfront payment is subtracted from your total rewards. And what that means is that if you are collaborating with another project, you were usually doing that just for free, and you weren't receiving any rewards for that project, because you're already getting subtracted from the upfront payment. So now what we've done is, for those that don't remember from math class, this is a summation over all the projects. So this parentheses was basically moved from where it was here before. Now it's there. And what that means is that the upfront payment is just subtracted on a per project basis. So your project rewards for that particular project would get subtracted, but it wouldn't affect your project rewards on other projects. I hope I said that clearly. Essentially what it means is that like if you're collaborating with another team and you're already getting paid from another project, now you have a bigger incentive for collaboration. You have a bigger incentive to work with other projects. And so hopefully this kind of, gets people to mix a little bit more between each of the projects. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Another one is just kind of more clear, basically write-ups of like what exactly every person on the team needs to do. And this is more easily viewed in the project proposal template, which has also been updated. But basically now in this team table, just directly on the template, you see what the requirements are for each role. So the Rocketeer, the delegate, and the initial team. So yeah, each member now is basically required to just give once a week an update on the progress that they've done. So within the progress channel, they'll just post, what they've worked on. And then we've added this penalty, basically. So if we're not seeing someone check in at least once a week and saying, hey, this is what I've worked on, they'll receive a 5% penalty. So
that's each moon settler, not each rocketeer for a project. Yeah.
yes. So each moon settler, and then there's a similar penalty also with rocketeer, to basically attend Senate meetings and give an update on the progress of their project. And it's basically the same penalty. So 5% to their retroactive rewards. If someone's sick or someone can't make it, they've got a conflict, it's no big deal. But this is more for like unexcused, just like, not showing up, not doing what they signed up to do. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of just listed here. Here are the 5 requirements, the 5 things that you're signing up to do. So yeah, attending the town hall meetings, creating weekly updates to the community, adding, removing, making decisions about the budget for the project, managing the multi-sig for that project, and creating the final report. The final reports have also been updated. And now there's just like, it's trying to be very obvious about like whose responsibility is what. So, which sections need to be filled out by the rocketeer, which ones need to be filled out by each team member. Now each team member just needs to write like a paragraph. It's not super structured, just on what they did. Yeah. And then this is basically the delegate goes through and makes sure that all of these things have been completed. Let's see, what else am I missing here? I think I've hit all the other bullet points. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I updated this example just so it reflects the new community circle and vMooney. Yeah. So
I have a question and a comment. The comment is, I really appreciate the explicit callouts per role, especially for someone that's not on the pulse of things and wants to do a project and they sign up, understanding what is expected of them specifically, like instead of just being like, do you want to be the rocketeer for this project? And I'm like, okay. Speaking from personal experience, yeah, I think I appreciate that. And that's my comment. My question is, should we take this as an opportunity to use plain text proposals and like turn this into a markdown document?
yeah, definitely.
To make it more traceable and version controlled and whatever in GitHub.
Totally. Yeah, I think once this is or if it does pass, then yeah, we should convert this whole document into markdown. We should take all of this and put it into markdown. And yeah, have a living GitHub.
That's not really relevant to the project itself or the vote or anything, but I just wanted to call that out as it's a good time to make a change like that.
Totally. Yep.
Agreed. I think though that even if this project doesn't pass, we should still just move forward with this template anyway, because it's much cleaner, and we've made changes to the template before without passing the proposal. I think, and I've already done the work all this morning of setting up the final reports with this new format, so I don't want that to be in vain.
I mean, the only thing that would be removed if this proposal doesn't pass for V5 is removing some of the responsibilities that would not apply, right? Like until it's just a matter of removing a few sentences. Everything else is basically compatible with V4, except for a few. So no stress, Mitchie. Don't panic.
Oh, it's okay. I'm done the work now anyway.
Positive feedback.
Cool. Sweet. Any other questions or anything in the chat?
Oh, I'm just happy we're finally implementing some of these things for real. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's been, yep. yeah, it felt good getting these finally down on paper. It's just stuff that we've been talking about for a long time. So yeah, cool. Should we throw it up for vote?
Yeah, give me 1 sec.
Cool. Cool. Looks like we got it.
Okay. Yep, close it up.
And would this take effect as soon as the snapshot closes, or as soon as, like, if it's not going to snapshot? I guess since we voted here, effective immediately or next.
Oh, do you mean
quarter?
like that new projects need to adhere to this new standard?
Yeah, that would be next quarter is when any
Yeah.
changes. Any
Yeah,
approved changes would go
basically,
through.
yeah. There should be like a little coming into effect clause, but yeah, basically next quarter. Yeah, we'll have all the projects follow the standard. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, if you guys aren't sick of me yet, you will be after this one. All right, MoonDAO Constitution. So this one's a little bit easier because there's just 5 kind of smaller changes, but each of them do have large impacts. So we should, in this case, I think it would be very good to bracket out each of these amendments. There's 5 in total, and allow the community to vote yes, no on each of the amendments. So yeah, let's dive into them. So the first one is updated voting power. Basically, it's both more specificity around what V-Mooney is and how it works, and just making these equations a little bit more human readable. And then also basically emphasizing that V-Mooney is the only governance token. Yeah, there's no like combination of Mooney and V-Mooney that equates to your voting power. It's just V-Mooney, just the square root. Yeah, like we previously had here, like MoonDAO only has 2 official governance tokens. Now it's just explicitly saying V-Mooney is the only thing that gives you voting power. Yeah. I use the word voting escrowed Mooney, just so people know what V-Mooney stands for, in case people didn't know before. It's a voting escrow contract. Yeah. The only way to get V-Mooney is by I use the word locking versus staking. We used locking throughout. Just wrote out 7 days. This is a number before. And also being explicit that 4 years is exactly 1460 days, because that's that's what we have within the smart contract. Yeah, I moved the sentence down that each member may only have 1 wallet registered with MoonDAO to determine their voting power. Members may delegate their voting power to other members. So you have to be voting with just 1 wallet, but you can delegate, and we do this right now for V-Mooney payments. You can delegate from 1 wallet to the other, but because we take the square root of the total amount of token, you can't be voting with multiple wallets within Snapshot. Yeah, so that's the whole change there. I'm gonna go. Oh, I don't know why. Well, I deleted all that. I think we should take these one by one. And so I'll open up for questions here, and then we can go on to the next, amendment.
Pablo, just a reminder to keep track of some questions coming in through the chat. Is there consideration of a delegate launchpad program?
Delegate launchpad program. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
Stand by.
Is the idea like you can you can announce that you are a delegate and that you'd like to receive delegated V-Mooney, and then have that like be displayed on the app or something like that?
Voted on by the community over a 6-month period. Members can delegate funds to their delegates.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So MoonDAO, yeah, we've talked about this a bit. So we were looking at kind of like delegated voting models versus direct voting models.
Like a pool almost.
Yeah.
with a representative.
Yeah, and what we elected to do is basically allow for people to vote directly if they'd like to, but optionally they can delegate. There are other DAOs that basically only do delegates can vote, and only this set of people can vote, and everyone else can only delegate to them. Which is a totally valid model. Makes sense. But what we wanted to do here is to allow people to have the option to not delegate, so they can just go direct and vote directly on proposals. But that being said, I wouldn't be against the idea of there being some app or something, or within the MoonDAO app, where people say, hey, I can act as your delegate if you'd like, and hear my thoughts on like a bunch of different ideas within MoonDAO. So yeah, cool. Eliza, I see your message. We'll open up the conversation to everyone in the audience at the end, after we're done with the proposals. But yeah, we have seen the thread that you've got in ideation, and yeah, we should definitely talk about how we can put that into a proposal.
I'd just like to interject real quick while we're on the subject, just to let people know that if they are interested, like if they're not going to be able to vote, they can delegate really easily. You just go to vote.moondao.com, click settings, click delegation, and then you just put in the address of whoever you'd like to delegate to. And when you do that, you can still vote. It's basically just like this delegate is a backup. If you don't vote, then their vote counts. So I just wanted to make that clear.
How long has this been in there? Holy shit. I had no idea that this was a thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. we should really be promoting it a lot more, but
I'm gonna need
it's not hard.
some additional help because I'm not.
Yeah. Vote.moondao.com. That's the place. Yeah. And then just in settings, like Mitch was saying. Yeah, we've had it since the beginning. It's just not, I guess, as advertised. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, any other questions around this section? Member house voting. Cool. All right. We'll go on to the next change. I'll jumping around a little bit, but see astronauts. Yeah, here. So this is just a one word change. So basically, at the moment, we have every astronaut serving a 2-year term. And so what that means is we pass an executive branch budget every 8 months, because there's 3 astronauts in total. So, dividing the 24 months by 3, then every 8 months, there's like a new cycle where we add a new astronaut. And the idea here is to just try to make it so that every year we're electing an astronaut. So there's kind of like an expectation that like, okay, this month every year is the election month. And yeah, just making that simpler for people. Budgets are calculated on a yearly basis, which I think makes things a little bit easier than an 8-month period. Yeah, it basically just and this would go into effect after we select a second astronaut, which is coming up, by the way. We're almost at the end of the 8 months here, so we'll be selecting a second astronaut soon. And yeah, so this would just extend the total period that someone can serve for 3 years before needing to be reelected. So yeah, so my 8-month term ends. Yeah, well, I guess there's like three executive branch budgets, I guess. And so that first 8-month period would not be affected. But I still do think that it would make sense then because otherwise I'd be out of sync with everything else. So if I am on 8-month cycles, but then the next astronaut's on a 1-year cycle, and then we have to, I don't know, do something weird with the budgeting. I think it's probably just cleaner to do after this 8-month cycle is over, all astronauts are on a 1-year basis. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like the total amount that I'd be serving. Yeah, I guess I see. Yeah. I think that's fair. So when we voted on me being an astronaut, that was a 2-year term. So after those 2 years are up, I could go up for re-election or I guess step down. After those 2 years, I think that's fair because the community voted for a 2-year term and now it's 3. So yeah, but yeah, I guess in budget planning though, we'd still do 1 year and then we'd add new astronauts in on a 1-year basis. Yeah, cool. Any other questions about this? Or?
No, I don't think this is a controversial one. That it's a lot cleaner.
Yeah. The next one is in the Senate. Here. So 2 changes. One is that
before we move on, staggered voting for adding a new astronaut every year with 1 astronaut term expiring.
Yes, exactly. So the idea is at any point in time, there's always 3. One person, is added. Another person is removed, unless if they're reelected, I guess. Yeah. But it would be an opportunity for someone new to contest it.
All right. Yep, we can move on.
Yeah. So let's see. In the Senate, actually, this is going to be here in Senate voting. So yeah, basically, we've run into on a few occasions this sort of 80% threshold for quorum is really high. So the idea is just to bring this down to 70% to allow a little bit more breathing room. And then also for both Senate and member houses, we use 70% here, but throughout the document, we define majority and supermajority, where supermajority is 2/3. So the idea is to just try to be consistent and use the supermajority in all of those cases rather than 70%. So yeah, we've got the supermajority definition here at the top. That's 2/3, 66.6%. So yeah, that's the change there, basically lowering the quorum, and then this is 66.6 rather than 70%. Cool. Any questions there? All right, we'll keep going then. The next one is pretty straightforward. What is it? Yeah, it's just removing guilds. So this is something that we thought we'd make more use of, but ended up not using. So getting rid of guilds, and then just because this section was broken up between projects and guilds, and now it's just projects. Now this section is just a reference to MoonDAO projects, and then links over to. I think right now this link isn't exact, but sure. We'll have to change the link in the docs, but it should be just projects. That's basically it. Adding the link and then removing guilds.
It's too controversial.
Yeah. I'll take the dead silence as you guys are all few.
What? Removing guilds? Could you? You've been working so well.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll keep moving forward. The last one. So this is basically making room for that new contributor community circle idea. So it's just this sentence here. I'll read it out loud for you guys. It says, if there are less than 5 Senate members going into the next season, the top contributors based on total contributor rewards in the previous season may be invited in rank order to continue on as senators until there are at least 5 Senate members. So this is basically ensuring that at any given point, there's at the very least a minimum of 5 Senate members, and that they're basically filled in based off of performance in the previous season. That's a good point. I'll just add astronauts are not eligible to be invited on senator. We use seasons throughout, and a season is defined here at the top. Yeah, well, it's season/quarters. Quarters refer to 3-month periods. Yeah, but I think at least I've tried to stick to seasons. Yeah. Okay. But I think good thought there, Ryan. To astronauts were okay. Yeah. But maybe I'll read it out just one more time in case there are any ambiguities or questions. So it says now, if there are less than 5 Senate members going into the next season, the top contributor is based on total contributor awards in the previous season may be invited in rank order to continue on as senators until there are at least 5 Senate members. Astronauts are not eligible to be invited to continue on as senators. I think there's probably 2 ambiguities. The may be.
Yeah, I was going to say are.
Yeah,
are
this could be
invited.
Will be.
I mean, are, I think, honestly, the correct tense. They are invited in rank order to continue. The invited part implies future tense and the potential.
Okay, are invited. Well, I guess this is like future, or if there's
they
are invited. Yeah,
invitation implies a future action will take place, but the invitation happens now. They are invited.
Yeah. Okay. Are invited in rank order. And the other ambiguity is total contributor awards. So I guess this would include both retroactive and upfront. Whereas, maybe there's an argument to say this should just be retroactive.
I honestly think it's fine as total contributor rewards. It's still, a decision made by the DAO.
I was going to suggest making it explicit, removing the word total and saying what you said, based on upfront and retroactive contributor rewards. That way there's no ambiguity in what total.
I kind of agree with that too. Yeah. Retroactive, I think it's the best signal versus upfront, where it could be someone made, a false promise and they're really high in total rewards. But
upfront refers to when you propose a project and we request funds immediately after the vote closes.
It's a little bit more. It's basically the payment that you receive as someone who's working on that proposal, and then
but it's guaranteed when the vote closes. If it passes, you're guaranteed that amount.
Yeah, well, so it's streamed over the period of the project, or it's sent out in half at the beginning and half at the end. And then if the project is shut down by the DAO, or if
all that's defined elsewhere. Before you get too deep,
that's all defined in the project system. Yeah. So I
was just responding to a minor clarification. I don't think we need to go in depth on that. But
so I just wanted to be precise about it. But I think retroactive rewards here makes the most sense to me. Yeah.
And does this only happen if there are less than 5 Senate members? Like, what if there are more than 5? Do we not choose the core contributors?
Sorry, I just thought I would include a reference to where that retroactive rewards are defined. That's in the project system. But sorry, Michi, what was your question?
So at the very start, it says if there are less than 5 Senate members, but I thought that this would happen regardless of the number of Senate members, because the core contributors are responsible for, vouching in people and reviewing the community contributions.
I guess there might be a difference then between this and the just contributor awards. I would be more in favor of the idea of backfilling to ensure that there is a minimum, rather than always having a consistent 5 Senate members that were in the previous. Because I think in a system where you have 5 Senate members that they might perpetually be in the top whatever. I feel like there could be more. It could be easier to kind of perpetually, make sure that you're always in that top 5 and you're kind of a perpetual senator, I guess. Whereas if we do have 5 other people that could be senators, that kind of keeps things a little bit more fresh and requires that you are actively working on a project. This is kind of just like in the case where we really don't have enough people into the next quarter. It gives us a lower bound. Yeah, but they can always join back in by passing a project, right? So it's not like we're excluding them. They just need to continue doing a new project. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. So would you rather this be always, even if there are already 5 Senate members, we would roll over the other 5 from the previous season?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I guess it's solving for two different issues. One. So as it's written right now, it solves for the issue of just ensuring that there's always 5 Senate members within the Senate. But if we were to take out the if statement at the beginning, if there are less than 5 Senate members, then it would solve both a minimum amount of Rocketeers, and then I guess it would always ensure kind of a rollover of the previous Senate members' context into the next season. I guess the question is whether or not that is something worth like explicitly putting into the Constitution versus just having people submit projects in the next quarter if they want to continue on.
I mean, I think part of this is to provide people the breathing room to really think about the next project that they're putting in while still maintaining a seat on the Senate. And with the crossover, like Ryan is saying, it could be that the Rocketeers is still a Rocketeer anyway. They already have an active project, but they're still a core contributor. I think it makes sense to remove the if part. I thought we were already rating under that framework.
Yeah. So I guess the other version of this would look like I'm just gonna copy it into. So it would just be the top 5. So basically, okay. So just going into the next season, the top 5 contributors based on retroactive rewards found in the project system in the previous season are invited in rank order to continue as senators until they're say each season. The top 5 contributors based on retroactive rewards in the previous season are in the start of each season. The top 5 contributors based on retroactive rewards in the previous season.
I just want to time check the against the agenda. We're already 40 minutes over. Or do we have 20 minutes? I can never remember how long these are.
I don't think there's a set time, but we do try to keep them short. It's just there's a lot of big chunky proposals this week.
No problem. I just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm open to this wording. I just want to make sure everyone is on board. So just to understand the differences between these two. So this one is basically always rolling over the top 5 contributors. Does this? I mean, I guess a difference here in wording though is that this says until there are at least 5 Senate members. Should we keep that until there are at least 5 Senate members rolling over? Because this would imply that we invite 5 Senate members, but then if 4 of them say no, then there's just 1 that rolls over.
No, but I think it's intended to go down the list. So if they decline, then keeps bumping down next person. And then of course, if it becomes problematic for any reason, then you have the right as astronaut to veto any one of them.
Maybe this until there are at least 5 Senate members from the previous season. Is that clear enough? I don't know.
It could be though that we only have like some 5 core contributors, just because there's no one who wants to take it and no one who's really suitable.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm open to either version, but yeah. was it? We could delay everything but this change, or just have this change on ice, and then I think the other ones are ready to go. And I wouldn't say this is rushing. Like there's a 10-day voting period after this in the Constitution, right? So there's 10. Yeah, but if the community disagrees with the wording or anything in it, they have 10 days. There's no. I would disagree that anything is rushed. But if we are unclear about this, like all the other changes, there were no real disagreements on. This one, it does seem like there's like two interpretations or two ways to take it. Yeah. So I'm cool with like not including this one in and just doing 4, and then we can add this one in later, if you guys want. Until we decide to revisit this, it could be next week. Well, yeah, I mean, I'd rather just get this like, packaged up and sent on Snapshot rather than, spending another governance brain cycle. Yeah, I'm cool. Let's do the first 4, and we can remove this sentence if there's kind of disagreement on. And to be like, I'm totally cool with either one of these. Like if we want to do the second one, but if we want more time to think it through and analyze the exact wording of it, most of the other ones don't really have much in terms of like wording changes. I guess maybe the MOONEY one and using some terms like voting escrow. This is the only real piece. This is the only real piece that has like real language that is going in. So I think yeah, let's pause and we can just not do this one. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I just don't want to like spend like each of these meetings, right, where we get everyone together and we all discuss these things at length. It takes up a lot of time. Even this right now is taking up a lot of time. So, revisiting these things at length over and over again, it just takes up time. So I think we've already gone through 4 of the amendments here, and there wasn't much disagreement at all. So those 4, I think we should put those up on Snapshot. I don't think there's any value in rediscussing any of those at length. This one, though, which seems to be a sticking point, let's put this on ice. And I think, I don't know, is there anyone else that's in disagreement with that?
I also agree with the what Coffee Cartridge just said in chat. If you have the community vote on all the changes, it could get. I see where Ryan's coming from. Like us wanting to get it through isn't like a hard, like it's not something it's not a good enough reason to not delay. But I think I agree with probably your argument here. I think having a focused discussion on just this last one that raised discussion here, and that there wasn't stuff, yeah, like then you get a chance for a focused discussion and voting separately on this thing that's clearly more in limbo or might need more. Long story short, vote on the first 4 and then have a separate discussion on this one.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Okay, so we'll get rid of that one, and yeah, we can move forward. Cool. Should we put this up for vote just on the first 4?
What's up?
It's like we missed one vote, but it's passed.
Good. Someone's clicking the green checkbox and not the poll.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we still hit quorum though with it. So sweet. Cool. All right, we made it through, guys. Thanks for sticking through these, 3 big changes, 3 big proposals.
I still have something on the agenda though.
Yep. Yeah, but at least I get off of the stage here.
Yeah. Get out of here. No, okay. So I'm about to post literally just now an announcement in the announcement channel, and I would really appreciate everyone to go and check that out. basically, it's just an overview of the important dates and deadlines for everyone regarding the upcoming end of the quarter. There are links directly to a Google Calendar, so you can go in, add that to your calendar, so you make sure you have reminders. And like I said last week, we're running a much tighter ship this time around. I want to start this year off right. And so alongside these deadlines, we're introducing basically a fee for failure to meet those deadlines. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's pretty clear what the expectations are here. But what that means is for Rocketeers, if they fail to first confirm their report on the 1st, or they fail to present a valid presentation of the proposal, then there's a 25% fee on that Rocketeer's total rewards for the cycle. I've made a note here that Moon Settlers also, if they fail to do their give in a give distribution cycle, there's no hard rule there for what the penalty would be, but that is up to the discretion of the project Rocketeer. So they should handle that accordingly.
The calendar links appear to be broken for me anyway.
Everyone responsibility to make sure that, and we also have a deadline for the multi-sig as well to attend the final, the town hall where we do the final review of the results. And after that, they are expected to execute so that we can get people's payments out in a timely order. And I've put a link to the period up here as well, which the whole thing will be going up to snapshot. So that's basically it. That's the overview.
I don't know about anybody else, but the calendar links are broken for me. Google says could not find requested event.
Oh, dang. Okay.
If that's just me, then I'd appreciate it if anyone could.
Yeah.
No. They open up for me, but maybe that's because I'm the owner. I will fix that right away. Thank you for pointing that out.
Again, it could be a me problem, but it happened with all the events. So
Thanks, Mitchie. It's well done and very clear in terms of like all of the dates. So yeah, good work there. Do you have everyone's emails to add the calendar event just directly on their calendar?
No. I do not have everyone's emails. I think they should just be able to add the calendar though and get the reminders.
I'd really highly recommend that you go into Google Calendar and create an event for each of these and then add people's emails one by one individually so that they get notified, regardless of if they check the announcement. Yeah.
I've already created the events individually, so I'll just need to collect everyone's emails.
Okay.
So yeah, if everyone, obviously everyone just heard that. If everyone could please send me their emails, then that would be excellent, especially Rocketeers, but I would also like to get it from all Moon Settlers as well. So if you have any Moon Settlers on your project, let them know, please. Make sure that they follow through.
Sounds good. Yeah. Nice work, Mitchie. Thanks.
No problem. It's just the start. But I have a good feeling about this quarter. I think it's going to be a lot smoother.
Sweet. Cool. All right. Do we do a roundtable real fast? Like a speedy version? We're almost at 2 hours.
I wanted to update on DCI CVs. Royalty's been doing most of the work here. I haven't had time, but they're carrying the torch. I'm just speaking on their behalf right now. I posted some stuff in the research channel. Thank you for creating that, Mitchie. And I know there's some work that was done on like a researcher opt-in role, so we could mention an entire group of people that want to get get alerts for research related things and stuff like that. I don't know if that's in or what else needs to be done there. So
it's basically set up. We can sync afterwards.
Okay.
On that.
And I posted. I don't know if I already said this, but Carla and Royalty have been working on onboarding docs, and I posted them to the channel and pinned them. So there's a how to make an account, create a node, publish and submit, and some other helpful links. Yeah, Mitchie, if let's sync up, include royalty on the conversation. They have a better idea.
Cool. Yeah, I'll just post in the channel actually.
Great.
Probably gonna take a little break here after this meeting, but I'll try and get to that today.
Sure.
Phil, while you got the mic, do you want to update Space-Time Protocol too?
Yeah. There's no direct updates. I have next week, or the 26th is my meeting with RIT. I replied to Open Lunar responding to the funding request, and they're still reviewing my comments. But basically, the plan is to get a grant from Open Lunar and use that to sponsor the engineering capstone project at Rochester Institute of Technology for this upcoming fall, to do basically a proof of concept of what we're asking, right? The demo, the proof of concept of designing and building a time card, and just the time card portion. So that leaves the door open for clock synchronization and ranging as a deep prize project. So yeah, things are moving really slowly, but the ship is still moving. Update from Eliza here. One of the projects in ideation has been like a MoonDAO space-themed lounge and rec room. The free-to-play game on PC or VR. 100 people have visited the lounge, and she's going for 200 this weekend to visit and chat and talk space and possibly recruit to MoonDAO.
That's awesome. Yeah, we should get that in as a MoonDAO project. That could be great.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I will give my updates as quickly as I can. Entity registration. We should have a demo ideally by the end of the week, maybe beginning of next week. Really excited about that. Sweepstakes extension. We're close. We're close to being able to announce the winner. We should have news by next week. And 0G updates. I'll let Ryan go on that, but yeah, I think we just need to close up some accounts. Yep. Ryan, do you want to? Is there anything else you want to add about 0G? Cool. I think just missing Colin.
Yeah. No updates this week for the marketplace. I have been creating tests for it, but that's more under like the webmaster proposal. So yeah, wrapping up the testing for the marketplace and then also creating tests for the app. Another thing I'm working on is integrating the MoonDAO.com landing page into the app. I'm making some good progress there, so hopefully I'll have that done soon. And yeah, that's it. Short, sweet.
Awesome. Cool. So we hit everyone. We could do maybe like a speed version of an open floor. If there's anything people want to bring up, or anyone on stage or in the audience that wants to join.
There's active development going on with the docs, not just like the content, but also how it's displayed. I put a solicitation so I made some tickets and I marked them as like need help, and I got some responses. So, but if you're looking for something to do, like that takes a few minutes of your time, and you have experience with TypeScript, I have something for you to do. And the idea would be you submit your contributions and get rewarded through the core contributor. One last thing, open floor analog astronaut project didn't make it to the floor this week, but please comment, tear it apart. So there's actions to edit and things to respond to before next time. I appreciate it.
Hello, so I hope you guys can hear me. One last thing I wanted to say.
We could hear you until you said one last thing I want to say, and then you cut out.
Can you hear me now? It's this better?
Yes.
Okay. So how I just said, I finished this game, the Rec Room game, and it's actually really cool. How I just said, we have over 100 people that joined the game, and they came up to me and said, this game is really cool, and they really like the rocket outside. They think it's really interesting. And they like the campfire thing outside. They really like it, and it's really cool. And how I just said, I'm going for 200 people this weekend. So yes, I hope I can make that happen and tell more people about it on Rec Room that like space. And yes,
And folks, Rec Room is free to play.
yes.
I meant to check it out already. I'm gonna have to pay a little visit this weekend. That's cool. It's great that you already got like 100 people. That's sick.
Yes, and we only have one little problem with the server. On the game, when people join the game, also Phil knows that we have something called the scan script, and yes, it takes people to another game, and this is kind of annoying for people, and they even told me that, and I'm just trying to take that out from the game, and that's the only thing I have to do, and it's gonna be done.
Yeah, it's a pop-up that happens, and if you just blindly click OK, it takes you to another server. But
Yes.
you just have to click cancel. But it's super annoying and unprofessional. It's literally like it says, unless you click this, the IRS will find you or something like that. And it's like it's hard to find because Rec Room, all the edits are done like in game, kind of like Minecraft. So yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to remove that. By the way, people like the astronaut that's outside dancing. A 6-year-old said to me, "Is that a real astronaut dancing?" And I was like, "No, it's just something like dancing, you know."
That's funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got a VR headset, so maybe I'll check out the Rec Room.
Sure.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Liza.
No problem. It was my pleasure to be here talking about it.
Right. Well, that's probably it, right? We're good to wrap up.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Have a good one, guys.